Live from the 607, it's the Ocho Duro Parlay Hour, where we're talking movies, TV, comics, and more. Join in the conversation on our social media with the hashtag ODPH, because here we go. Welcome back for another edition of the ODPH podcast, better known as the Ocho Duro Parlay Hour. I am your host, Ken M. Joining me in studio, as always, it's a co-host. It's Padawan J.
Hello, hello, hello.
Folks, we have a lot to discuss in a surprise episode because we actually didn't think we were going to be able to record today. But we snuck one in.
Yes.
We got some movies, we got some TV news, we got some comics to talk with you. So definitely join in the conversation on social media. You can find all our social media links on OchoDuroParlayHour.com. Join in the conversation and remember to use the hashtag ODPH because we definitely want to interact with you. So obviously the big story going around Hollywood, shall we say, has been the success of The Mandalorian.
Yes.
Now, it has been setting numbers left and right. It has dethroned Stranger Things, I believe.
Yeah, apparently there's a record that Stranger Things held for, I want to say it was 21 weeks as the most streamed TV show, content, whatever, on the internet. Now, how this metric exactly got measured, I'm not entirely sure because I know for a fact that Netflix is very cagey about streaming numbers unless something sets like a ridiculous, viewer record. Like the week it drops or like over the weekend when it drops, they'll release stuff. But like by and large, when like The Witcher comes out, unless The Witcher sets like stupid crazy streaming numbers, they're not going to say how many people watch it.
No,
that's kind of their MO. So how exactly they got these numbers, I'm not sure. But yes, The Mandalorian has apparently dethroned Stranger Things as the most streamed content on the internet.
Yeah, which is absolutely wild to think about, especially for how Disney Plus is not in every country right now. Now, to put it in perspective, Star Wars is obviously on a high roll right now.
Yeah.
And going into Rise of Skywalker, the fan base is getting very vocal, getting very excited, and The Mandalorian is just the appetizer to keep them satisfied going into this.
I'll say shout out to John Boyega for losing his script and having it end up on eBay.
That was him?
That was him. Called it.
Oh, my God. Pat did call this.
Called it. I mean, just you think about it. Okay, Daisy Ridley been on her fair share of movies. Oscar Isaac's been on his fair share of movies. And yes, John Boyega has too. But just out of the three of them, he seemed like the most likely to have like accidentally left the script someplace. But yeah, he admitted it was him.
And they're lucky they recovered it because if that got spoiled.
Yeah.
I would not want to be in his trailer when they come by asking to have a word with him on the movie set.
Mark Hamill's told the story when he was told that, the Vader, I am your father line, and what would happen if that happened.
Exactly. Wow, that is a bullet they definitely dodged. But speaking of bullets, there was definitely a lot shown in this episode of The Mandalorian.
Yes.
Now, we are going to be talking spoilers, and we know everybody has not gotten a chance to get Disney Plus, so we will definitely put in the show notes when to jump in, and obviously skip this if you need to. But we are going to be talking spoilers because it was so good. In 3, 2, 1, Pat, how would you sum up episode 3?
Really, really, really good. I can't believe it gets better and better with each episode. That I figured at some point we might hit a plateau. We're like, all right, we're telling stories and story arcs, and all right, we're at the end of this, so things are going to kind of level off before they pick up back again. But no, it just keeps getting better. No, this episode definitely put the pedal to the metal, so to speak. And obviously going with the storyline of the Mandalorian, the baddest bounty hunter in the galaxy, that goes on this secretive mission to recover a package, and the package turns out to be a baby Yoda that we don't know the lineage of the alien race, but is the first time that we've seen this character since the actual Yoda in the original 4 through 6 at this time period. Right. I mean, at this point, we are 9 years after the original Star Wars movies, so that would put it at least 6 after Return of the Jedi when Yoda himself died. So Yoda's been dead for 6 years, and as has been said in episode 1 of this series, the child is 50 years old. So, and going by Star Wars years and math and everything, that puts him at just before episode 1, The Phantom Menace. Right. So this is obviously a big, big game changer. In the Star Wars mythos, because as far as we've seen in the recent Force Awakens trilogy, 7 through 9, there has been no evidence of this character surviving or making an impact. Right. So as we're jumping into it, when this hit the internet and everybody caught wind of there's a new Yoda in town,
everybody's paying attention, and I think it just kind of delves into how serious they're taking this series.
Yeah, and kudos to Disney and Lucasfilm and the folks behind the show for really keeping that under wraps. Like, I remember reading that a couple people teasing that something was going to be in this first episode that would shake Star Wars to the core, but that was it. Like, nobody ever said what it was. It never hit the internet before it leaked out. I know major spoilers in the last couple of years for Star Wars films have, I know, Han dying in Force Awakens hit the web before the movie hit, and then Luke dying in Last Jedi hit before the movie dropped. But, like, kudos to them for being able to keep this under wraps, because something like this, to me, is arguably harder, I feel, to keep under wraps than maybe Han or Luke dying.
Yeah, in this day and age of the internet, secrets are spoiled left and right for TV shows and movies. To have this kept under wraps as long as they have is truly remarkable, and I fully applaud this. Because when Disney Plus was promising something big with The Mandalorian, they definitely delivered.
Yeah.
And now that we jump into episode 3, The Mandalorian has captured the package.
Yep.
And is finally off the planet.
Yeah.
Returning it to the client that has had this long sought out bounty for said package.
Yep.
And finally delivers it. And what was the reward?
A lot of Beskar, like enough to fully upgrade his armor. Beskar.
Yeah, about 20 bars.
Yeah, like it was nuts.
Absolutely, because to put it in perspective, the Mandalorians are a very tough warrior race, and they definitely rely on their armor a lot.
Oh yeah, and the Mandalorian even says at one point that, like, oh, it's his armor has got some wear and tear. It needs some repairs.
Right. So when he gets his reward of all this Beskar steel, this definitely shows how heavy the stakes were. But this is where the episode, you can definitely see, is going to take a turn, because the Mandalorian does something out of character for him.
And out of character for those in the Bounty Hunter Guild.
Right. And what is that, Pat?
He asks what they're going to do with said child.
Right. So at this point, you're going, okay, what is going on? Because you kind of have the sense that he's now making a connection, the Mandalorian, to Baby Yoda.
Right.
That we really didn't think was going to happen on the offset, but it did.
Well, I think it's just him connecting the dots where, okay, he got the job, and it was a very secretive job, face-to-face meeting. Okay, like, a little unusual, but some people can be weird like that. Okay. Gets to the planet, finally gets to where this thing is being held, and runs into IG-11. Okay. Little odd that they gave the bounty out to someone else, but that happens. You want to be sure it gets done. Then you run into, the Trandoshans that in the second episode where he fought them off, they were coming for the child. So it's all of a sudden like, all right, I've run into an entire army that was holding this thing, an IG droid that was trying to get this thing, and a group of Trandoshans. Like, what is the deal with this thing? Right.
So there's so many questions, but he is not getting told any information and is left really at a standstill.
Yeah, because he asks, what are you going to do with this? And it's not even the scientist that tells him off. No, it's Werner Herzog who goes, this is, what are you doing? This is unlike this goes against Bounty Guild rules about asking what you're going to do with your package.
Right. So obviously, something is going to happen here, and how he tries to leave the package, and he does take off to where the Mandalorian group is underground, because
they're very underground. It almost feels like a lot of the galaxy doesn't know how many of them there are. They know that there are some out there, but just it feels like on this planet in particular, they only know of him.
Right. So at this point, he goes and meets up with the blacksmith that is designing all the armor.
Yeah.
And the blacksmith is very impressed at the haul that he is bringing back in.
Yeah, because he carries in like a giant thermos-looking thing that's got to weigh north of 20 pounds.
Right. So at this point, the Mandalorian is told that there's going to be a lot of eyes on you about this.
Oh, yeah.
So be ready for a lot of attention. And you start seeing some of the other Mandalorians come by. And there is a small skirmish, if you will, until it is explained by the blacksmith that this is the way of the Mandalorian. And that phrase is now going to be taken over with I am spoken, or I have spoken.
I don't know. I would say they're pretty even par right now.
Right now they're even par. So you're really seeing how much effect this is having. And as the armor blacksmith is making the new armor, you're definitely seeing how the Mandalorian is having flashbacks.
Yeah.
Which we really haven't touched upon what is going on there, but he's remembering a lot of his past, which was torn apart. It appears that there was a battle going on, and I almost thought that you were going to see something like Superman where he's shot to a different planet, but he's just hidden underground where all these robots are going by, and it almost looks like the Empire is attacking his planet at first guess.
Yeah.
No, this is not official. It's just first guess. But as he snaps out of it, he gets his brand new armor, and then he goes and meets Grief Gargon.
Yeah,
who is Carl Weathers.
Yep, Carl Weathers' character. Just to interject for a second, there's a fun Clone Wars Easter egg or connection to this. When he's back at the Mandalorian clubhouse, up, for lack of a better term, the gentleman who comes up to him and really starts to try and picking a fight with him. If you're like me and have watched the Clone Wars, you're going, that dude sounds really friggin' familiar. Who is that guy? The character is the name of Paz Vizsla, and if it sounds familiar, it is a descendant of Pre Vizsla, who was in the Clone Wars, voiced, funnily enough, by Jon Favreau, who also voiced Pre Vizsla in the Clone Wars series, and also voiced this character in The Mandalorian.
Oh, very interesting.
Yeah, like I'm sitting there watching the show going, that voice is really friggin' familiar. Who is this?
Yeah, so I definitely did not know that. But like I said, you are the Star Wars expert of the panel, so definitely you picking up on that, kudos. So as he's going to get his new bounty, because at this point, Carl Weathers' character of Grief is telling him, like, take some time off and relax. But the Mandalorian...
He's all work and no play.
Yeah, he's all work and no play, but you can definitely sense that there's a sense of quote-unquote buyer's remorse. That he did his job, but he's
not happy about it.
He's not happy about it, which is the first time we've really seen emotion shown by him.
Yeah.
And it was really...
It's almost like,
surreal.
Yeah, surreal, and it's almost like if you have something tragic happen in your life, a family member dies or a friend dies or just something bad happen, what do? You try to distract yourself with work and keep going and keep your nose to the grindstone.
Right, so at this point, he gets a new bounty, and instead of going and following through on the next job, he goes back to the scene of the crime, so to speak.
And he thinks about it. He even, I think it's to the point of starting up the engines on the ship, and like they're warmed and they're ready to go, and he just sits there and he's, it's one of those great moments, and I got to give credit to Pedro Pascal because you could totally read his emotions without seeing his face.
Yeah, the acting he's doing on this show.
Oh, it's amazing.
Especially you can't see his face,
no.
So you're only going by very little body language.
Yeah, it's the body movements. Like you can just see him, like he almost does this like sigh and looks off to the side like, damn it, I got to take care of this.
Right, so he can't live with himself the fact that the baby Yoda is in the wrong hands. So he makes a Daredevil-like appearance to rescue the child.
Yeah.
And I do mean this because there was like him fighting in a hallway, and I was like, oh man, this is trademark Marvel to the letter.
Yep.
But obviously not one camera shot, so they were going back and forth, and the Imperial stormtroopers were coming in after him, and definitely great action scene.
Yeah.
Great action scene going back and forth, and he's on his one-man army mission to get the child, which he finally saves, you think, because according to the doctor that is working on him, there was nothing going on. They were just testing him. He was the only one keeping him alive. And the Mandalorian just goes, puts him in his arms, and just leaves.
Yeah, which I can't necessarily believe that doctor's story because you're staring down, the proverbial barrel of the Mandalorian, who is probably the toughest, meanest guy this person has ever seen. You're going to say whatever it takes to keep your butt alive.
Exactly. So Mandalorian is just, I want to get in and get out. And as he's going back to his ship, all of a sudden in the bar where all the bounty hunters are hanging out, a red light is going off on each one of their... I almost want to say it would look like beepers.
I think they're called fobs or something like that.
Yeah, whatever the case is, where they get informed about bounties going on.
Right, it's the tracking device, and this is actually a callback to the scene where the Mandalorian went to Carl Weathers and hey, because it's on his mind. Like he had 4, 5, 6 people come after this child when he was trying to bring it back. He asks him, how many people did you give this bounty out to? And he says, everyone.
Yeah.
He goes, you're just the lucky one who got back with it first.
Right. So now the tables have turned, and he has now become galaxy enemy number 1. Which is a wild scenario to see what happens next.
He likes those odds.
He does. He's literally the man without any fear. But he's not Daredevil, and he doesn't have the radar sense. Because as he's going back to his ship, he gets stopped by Grief and every single bounty hunter on that planet.
Which is probably the entire population minus any service people.
In an insane, give us the child, we might let you live.
Yeah.
And the Mandalorian just kind of looks around and is like...
Don't get me wrong, from Star Wars mythos, the stuff his armor is made out of is very tough. It's one of the toughest, substances in the galaxy. It's not tough enough to withstand those numbers.
No, and he's dressed head to toe now in new armor.
Oh, too, yeah, he looks nice.
To say, yeah, he looks like a brand new warrior.
So he bought himself a new suit, looking good.
Exactly, and he definitely has to test that suit out because the action scene gets crazy during this point, and you have like everything that you enjoy about Star Wars fighting. The high-paced action, the music kicks in, and you're just seeing how is he going to escape, and it kind of just combines that element of sci-fi and adventure. And as you see the battle going on, and he's taking out everybody he can, the odds are just keep getting stacked against him, which is absolutely connecting with the fans. Because you have that sense of, like, how is he going to get out of this?
Right.
Because at first glance, I didn't really think about it, like, how is he going to get out? Because at this point, he's outmanned, outgunned.
Oh, yeah.
And he has zero chance of survival.
And to our knowledge, or at least to our, just the way we see things, it's he doesn't have a lot of help.
No, he doesn't. The only thing he has is a little minor weapons upgrade from the, dare I say, it was like the proximity missiles in his arm.
I forget what they're called. They were called like the Wisp.
Like Weeping Eyes or something
Weeping,
like that?
Yeah, something. Like it was like, hey, use these sparingly. These are very expensive.
Right, and he has to use already 6 of them to get out of one situation. He doesn't have enough to go around. So as the tables are turning on him, all of a sudden, a cavalry comes in.
Mm-hmm.
And who is it?
It's all the Mandalorians from the underground clubhouse.
Yeah, who are now backing him up.
Which, in jetpacks, and it's just a really awesome sequence.
Yeah, to try describing it is very tough because it is just awesome.
Uh-huh.
It's just awesome. And all you hear is, this is the way. And they're giving him enough backup to escape. So he gets on his ship, and Grief confronts him on the ship.
Mm-hmm.
And he just can't let it go. And he's like, you've basically turned your back on everything that you stood for with being a bounty hunter. And the Mandalorian just doesn't even blink an eye, causes like a little smoke screen.
Yep.
And shoots Grief.
Yep.
And then basically takes off in his ship with Baby Yoda in hand.
And I love the shot right at the end where he's taking off from into the atmosphere, and the other Mandalorian flies up on a jetpack and looks at him, and he just goes, "I need to get one of those."
Yeah, it's just a cool little nod. The show has definitely delivered on all fronts.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, trying to think where this is going to go now, because this is episode 3.
Yep.
It's only slated for 8 episodes.
Yep.
Really hard to tell how the story is going to play out.
Really hard to tell, but if you want to hint at where it might go, or at least Baby Yoda's outcome, read the recent quote from Rian Johnson in an interview he gave. If you don't want to be spoiled by that, avoid that interview, because there's potential spoilers for season 2 in an interview he gave.
Yeah, we do know the Mandalorian is coming back. That has already been confirmed.
It's coming back. It is currently filming.
Yes, so definitely the story is going to continue with Baby Yoda or not. We don't know,
Mm-hmm.
but overall, though, this is delivered on everything it needed to do. This was more action-packed than episode 2 was.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah, this was what you wanted to see, because this kind of just reminds me of a galactic western.
Mm-hmm.
That is the vibe I'm getting from this. And I'm truly happy with it. Like, for what Disney Plus is offering for the first show out the gate, especially for being a young streaming service, they needed to deliver on something big.
Yeah.
The Mandalorian is what everybody is talking about.
I was saying the other thing that this episode did for me that got me really excited was it was directed by a woman named Deborah Chow. Now, that name isn't familiar to a lot of people, but it soon will be. She's going to be directing the upcoming Obi-Wan series.
Oh, okay, so that's a good sign for that series coming out.
I saw that she was directing this. I'm like, oh, she's doing the Obi-Wan series. I'm like, all right, this episode was amazing. She's going to do great.
Yeah, and obviously that one, Ewan McGregor's coming. There's no shame coming back to TV.
No.
So we definitely want to see him, and what story they're going to tell with Obi-Wan is anybody's guess.
Uh-huh.
But who would have thought that a throwaway character based lightly off Boba Fett would now ascend to even a greater stance?
Yeah.
And now has taken over mainstream pop culture a little bit.
To the point where, like, they weren't planning on putting out any merchandise for Baby Yoda until after a while. And then just the internet took over and fell in love with it collectively. And they're like, all right, we got to, like, speed put stuff out here.
Yeah, between that, gifts now, and then the little controversy that was going on there and whatever that was. To see how this is now really making its impact on pop culture, this does remind me a little bit of how Stranger Things came out of nowhere and did it.
Yeah.
Albeit, though, the fan base was already established for Star Wars. So anybody was going to check it out no matter what. But to see how well it's taken the Mandalorian character and now really bumped it up to where it's carved its own niche in the Star Wars universe. It's not going to be connected to Episode 9,
no.
Unfortunately. And if there's any more trilogies or anything going on after that, because who knows?
Yeah, no, who really knows? I mean, the surprising thing for me is how, given how popular it is how popular it is, despite the fact it is not a main character. It's not one of the bounty hunters that, the general population knows. It's not Boba Fett. It's not IG-88. It's not, Jango Fett. It's not Cad Bane or something like that. Like, it's a brand new, unknown character that, I was expecting some success because it's Star Wars,
right.
Enough said. But I would certainly expect a success, if not more, if it was, say, Boba Fett. But for the fact it's not, surprises me that it's as popular as it is.
Right, and I think that The Mandalorian takes off where the Boba Fett mythos is. Because say what you will, and we have this debate all the time about Boba Fett and is he really the baddest guy in the galaxy? The Mandalorian is based off Boba Fett, loosely to some degrees, and you can definitely analyze it all you want with Star Wars mythos. I get that.
Oh, yeah.
And I respect that idea, but what I'm saying with this is it's based lightly off Boba Fett, but it's carved its own niche. And to see a brand new character really implement itself into the Star Wars legacy at this stage, truly remarkable.
Yeah.
Final thoughts on the episode before we close it out.
Great episode. Really love the action and building off everything. And it feels like this is the close to, a proverbial chapter with even more stuff coming. Because, again, we're 3 episodes in, and the only major actor or actress we've seen for this show has been Carl Weathers. We still have Gina Carano. We still have Ming-Na Wen. We still have Giancarlo Esposito, among many others, still coming on the show.
Yeah, for 3 episodes in, it's definitely lived up to the hype. I'm super excited about seeing it every Friday. I don't know about you, but you're going to have to let us know on hashtag ODPH. And before I close this out, I got to give a special shout out to 30 and Nerdy. We are going to actually be guesting on their show, debating who in the Star Wars universe is the BMF. The baddest multi-fighter. Pat and I have our list ready, so Josh and Tyler will see you guys next week. If you're not familiar with 30 and Nerdy, we will definitely post a link up on OchoDuroParlayHour.com so you can get familiar for next week because it's going to be a highly debated contest. I can't wait. But in the meantime, hit us up on our social media accounts, hashtag ODPH. What was your thoughts on The Mandalorian thus far? Are you in love with it as much as we are? Do you not like it? Because I actually want to hear from somebody that doesn't like it and why. Let's have that conversation, shall we? We're going to take a quick break. We'll be right back.
Hey y'all, join me and my friends as we talk about all things geek. Here at the Geek Freaks Podcast, we cover the weekly news and all of geekdom. Top movie news, comic books, video games, and TV shows, everything that you are interested in. We also have our growing YouTube channel. Every Friday we come out with freebie games where we go over the latest free games from the Epic Game Store. Monthly we have Retro Rewind, where we play a retro game and talk about what it meant to us as kids and its effect on the industry. And then we have our comic book club, where we review a staple in comic book history. Join us as we go over everything in your geek life and share in the love of geekdom.
Hey, this is Brian Wolf from Fair City Fire. You are listening to ODPH, the greatest podcast in Binghamton.
Woo!
Coming back for the second segment on this edition of the ODPH podcast, and we got to start talking a little Crisis on Infinite Earths.
The clock's ticking.
The clock is ticking, and the 2 shows that are definitely standing out on the CW leading into it is Arrow and The Flash. Now, last week, we were catching up on some episodes, so we didn't get a chance to really detail it, but we are fully ready to start deep diving into the past episodes of Flash and Arrow. So we are going to be talking spoilers as we give you fair warning about. So, Pad, why don't we kick it off with The Flash?
Okay. The episode of Flash this week was, of course, titled The Last Temptation of Barry Allen, Part 1. And I got to say, I really love this episode. To me, at least in my opinion, this was probably the best episode they've had this season.
Okay.
Basically, the episode starts out where the previous one had left off, where you have Elongated Man fighting off with Bloodwork, down to the ground, and it appears that Elongated Man loses his powers or has them copied because Bloodwork shoots some of his cellular powers, whatever you want to call it, into him, sucks the stuff back out of him. It's the blood looking special effect. I don't know, it's not clearly said what he takes out of him, but it's that special effect you see in the show. And he leaves Elongated Man there on the ground, kind of writhing in pain, while he Stretch Armstrongs or Mr. Fantastic's his way up the building. So it's like, oh crap, this isn't good. They get him back to the Star Labs, where they go, all right, we need to take care of this, and he needs a blood transfusion now. And they come to the conclusion, why don't we give him Barry's blood, because he has speed healing? And Barry goes, will this work? And they're like, listen, we ain't got nothing else.
Right.
We got to take care of this. So, but then the issue they run into is because his skin is rubber and elastic, no needle will puncture it. So Barry goes, why don't I phase the needle into him? And they go, all right, let's do it. So he phases the needle into him and then gives him the blood transfusion, and everything's hunky-dory. He's going to get taken off to someplace else to kind of recuperate and kind of get back on his feet. But then this is where things start to go sideways, of course, where you have Barry, the thing that keeps hitting home in this episode is that they're 48 hours, they're 36 hours, they're like 2 days away in their time, obviously, not our time, from crisis.
Right.
They're on the doorstep, and you can tell Barry is at a little bit of comfort level, because he's like, all right, I think I've prepared you all enough to like handle things and then take over when I'm gone, because he's at the point where he's like, I'm gonna die. Like he's I don't want to say he's at peace with it, but he appears to be like semi accepting it.
Yeah, he's kind of at this weird stage. I mean, throughout the season, that's where you can kind of get the vibe of Flash. No pun intended. That Barry is worried about his legacy, and that their crisis that is coming, and he can't avert it, and he can't be as optimistic about it. And he's kind of going through and having moments with his team, getting them set up for a future without him. And I mean, this season has kind of dealt a little bit with Ralph and finding his way.
Yep.
And definitely dealing a lot with his case with Sue.
Yeah.
So that has been definitely a back burner story going on. But he's been trying to get everybody ready to go, whether it's Caitlin, whether it's Cisco, because he knows it's coming close. And, and this is one situation that, for as optimistic as the Flash is in the CW, he is now really leaning on ways to cheat the system. Yeah. And you almost got to say it's almost like when in the comics when Neron was tempting heroes and villains that, you sell your soul, I'll give you powers and I'll augment you and do that, like the Villains United way back when. Yeah. You're kind of seeing Barry get tested here.
Yeah. And so what happens after that is, of course, he goes back to the apartment. He seems very lethargic. He seems very tired, very, like you see when some people are starting to get sick. They're starting to come down with something. And he gets back to the apartment. He tosses his keys in the bowl, and he's sitting there. He's just like, man, he just doesn't feel good. So he goes and pours himself a glass of water, and he takes a drink from it. And who shows up? Bloodwork. Yeah. He starts freaking the hell out. And he goes, oh, my God, why are you here? He goes, oh, listen, you know why I'm here. Flash.
Yes, his secret identity has yet again been exposed to some...
Yeah, it's been exposed, and now Bloodwork knows who he is, knows that Crisis is coming, and Barry can't figure out how he knows this. He eventually finds out that Bloodwork has now infected him through one of his cellular power infection things. I don't know what you call these things. But it got into his body when he was giving the blood transfusion to Ralph. Yeah. And so Bloodwork is now trying to take over Barry at any means possible and through whatever he has to do.
Well, I mean, this kind of makes logical sense. Like I said, I've been very critical of the character of Bloodwork, not the acting by any stretch. Yeah. But the character really needed to do something to stand out. So if you're going to really kind of teeter on the keys of, well, Barry, if you accept me as your, I don't want to say... Savior, yeah. That I can stop Crisis. And Barry, at this stage, is so desperate to find a way, he's willing to accept it. And he's really getting tested because, like I say, when you're getting visits from the Speed Force, and the Speed Force is his own separate entity, which is kind of like a wild concept to think about. That this is like you have your angel on your one shoulder and your devil on your other.
Right, and the Speed Force, like you said, eventually shows up in the form of his mother, and this is the thing. The entire time this sequence is happening, or the sequences with Barry are happening, you can't tell what's real and what's not. Yeah. Because the entire time, like, he gets there and Bloodwork shows up, you think it's real. And the whole time things are going... It's not until the Speed Force shows up and says, no, listen, here's what happened. You got home, put your keys in the bowl, took a drink, and then immediately passed out. And we're not talking like fell asleep. No, you collapsed. And you're currently lying on the floor of your apartment. So that's when you kind of go, all right, he's trapped in his own head. And what follows is kind of like inner struggle with his demons, where, it's what made the episode great for me is the entire season has been, he's worried about crisis, he's scared about crisis, and this and that. But it's kind of like when you're in college and you've got the big, midterm exam or the final exam coming, and you're like a month out, 2 months out, and you're like, oh, no, you know what, I got time. And you're like 2-3 days out, and all of a sudden you're like, oh, bleep, like I'm scared out of my mind.
Right. So this is really a nice flip on what the season's been, because to see how the worry is really in Barry's head.
Yeah.
To get that visualized.
Yeah.
Really helps set the tone for the episode.
And I got to say, the performance by Michelle Harrison, of course, playing Barry's mother in this, I would say it's her best performance ever.
Yeah, she
knocked it out of the park.
She does such good work.
I'm also not entirely convinced that this was the Speed Force.
Really?
See, what I'm thinking is, and I've had a couple people mention this to me or bring up this theory to me. One of the things she brings up is that, is that blood work will tell you the truth, but he will tell it to you in such a way that it's not a lie. It is true, but it will play off to what you want,
right,
or what have you. How is it outside the realm of possibility that he is trying to take over Barry by any means possible? And he keeps bringing up, oh, do you have doubts? Do you have doubts? Do you have doubts? Is it outside the realm of possibility that he would have created this form of his mother as the Speed Force to try and give him some of those doubts and go over to his side?
That's an interesting theory. It's not out of the realm of thought.
No.
I mean, it depends how multi-layered they want to get with the plot about it. So I wouldn't doubt it. I mean, it's hard to say. I mean, that is some deep level thinking. So, Pat, I mean, I'm not ruling it out.
No, yeah.
I just don't know how they would go with such a character like that. But if they did, I would applaud it, because at least it would give a little more depth to the character.
And like I said, the entire time he's in this head prison thing, it's a trip, because there's one point where, eloquently enough, it appears that the entire Team Flash and, his stepfather and his wife and, Cisco and Caitlin and all them are sitting down for what appears to be a Thanksgiving dinner. It's not your traditional Thanksgiving dinner with turkey and stuffing and green beans and all that. No, it appears to be like almost like a potluck kind of thing, where like everybody made something. Like there's mashed potatoes and there's, baked beans and there's all this stuff going on. And he's kind of sitting down going, this doesn't seem right, because they're eating almost like they haven't eaten in like weeks.
Right.
And he something just feels off to him. And then almost like out of a sitcom, from the 90s or something, blood work comes around the corner. And everyone goes, oh, hey, how are you? He goes, I made lasagna. It's one of the wilder scenes that, like, it was just funny. And he sits down and he starts dishing out the lasagna, and all of a sudden the black, like, blood just starts oozing from their mouth, and
the Venom symbiote, because that's what it looks like.
That's what it looks like. The Venom symbiote starts oozing from the food and oozing from their mouths, and they're all a part of it. And they're like, join us, Barry, join us, Barry. So you get towards the end, and you can tell that it's weighing heavily on him, because he's been having issues sleeping and all that. They've attached, they being Cisco and Caitlin, have attached almost like a Fitbit thing to him, where it monitors his heart rate and his temperature and his this and that. And the entire time he's freaking out, at one point his temperature hits like 105.6, and his heart rate is like through the roof even for him.
Right.
So they've got him in the back in Star Labs. Killer Frost clams up, like she has to help him in his moment of need, and she clams up. And Cisco runs off to get something, and in his head you have Barry in his childhood bedroom, really succumbing because while it's only been maybe a couple hours or so in their world, who knows how long it's been to him.
Yeah, in his mind.
So he's he's sweating profusely and really like getting pissed off at the Speed Force, or what we perceive to be the Speed Force. He goes, he basically says, listen, I didn't get a choice in this matter. You did this to me. You ruined mine and my family's lives. Like, he's really, it's a really great performance between Grant Gustin and Michelle Harrison, that he's just like airing out all these grievances. And finally, Bloodwork shows up and goes, no, yeah, she's right. It's the devil on his shoulder. They've never done anything to help you. They're always just using you. You never get any say in the matter. You need to trust me, not them. Mm-hmm. She is able to expel him from, the room, but she goes, listen, he's not here long. Yes, because one of the things he shows Barry is that if you accept what I want to give you, my powers, you'll be able to stop crisis.
Yeah, and that's the key thing.
That's the key thing is to this point, he's only ever seen, an end of Crisis. And this gets brought up when he first shows up and knows about Crisis. He goes, oh, in all the futures you saw, did you ever see one where I played a factor in it? He goes, no, I never saw you there. So he goes, yeah, if you use my powers, you'll be able to stop Crisis. And he shows him a scenario where a woman's gravely hurt, possibly on death's doorbed. And he goes up to her and uses Bloodwork's powers and heals her. He goes, you'll be able to heal anyone. You'll be the greatest hero that ever lived. And go ahead.
No, it goes to show just how much this is weighing on Barry, that he's actually buying into this.
Yeah, and it's not one of those like, no, I don't believe you, I'm not going to do this. Like, he's genuinely considering this.
Yeah, to see how broken. I mean, that was kind of even the takeaway, that Bloodwork has finally wore down the Flash. He took advantage, almost like in a sense of like a mental nightfall.
Yeah.
That there's so much been weighing on Barry that he's just so desperate to beat Crisis. He's actually entertaining this. And the pitch he's getting, I mean, I'm sorry, it is what it is, but it's like Barry should have seen through it.
Yeah, and all the while this is going on, his physical body is getting a heavy toll because the speed healing is trying its best to expunge the possession or whatever you want to call it, and it's not working. Like, for all it's worth, it's just not working. So finally, Cisco's run off to get something, and all the meanwhile, you're getting a literal tug of war between the Speed Force and Bloodwork. Cisco runs in with the maximum velocity, needle, hits him with it, electrocutes that what out of him, and he comes to. And the thing that I didn't pick up on, at least initially, was you never saw what choice he made.
Right.
It was a proverbial, who do you choose? Do you choose the Speed Force and the good, or do you choose Bloodwork and the easy way out?
Yeah.
And so he has this heart-to-heart with Killer Frost and Cisco, and they're like, oh, listen, you deserve some of the credit. You fought off a sentient life form in your body and really expunged it, even when your speed healing wouldn't help. And he goes, yeah, no, it was really hard. I had to basically remember all that was good. And they've called Iris at this point, and Iris shows up and she starts talking like, oh, I'm not leaving your side for the night. And she asks, what are you doing? And he goes, oh, just running some tests, running some diagnostics. And she goes, well, why don't you let Cisco do that? Why don't we go home and relax? He goes, no. He goes, why are you asking so many questions? And it was at this point that I go, wait a minute. We don't know which side he chose.
Right.
And I'm sitting there going, he chose Bloodwork. And sure enough, she goes back to Cisco and Killer Frost and says, that's not Barry. And Cisco goes up to him and turns him around, and sure enough, eyes are black, mouth is black, and he goes running off, and instead of the white, lightning, the red lightning, whatever it is, it's black.
Yeah.
And he meets up with Bloodwork, and I like what they did with the costume. They didn't keep the costume the same. It was mostly the same, but the inner logo on the thing was
the white circle.
The white circle was like venomized almost.
Yeah, I mean, that was the one takeaway. He kind of looked like he got venomized.
Yeah.
Which, I mean, it is what it is, because that's how Bloodwork's powers are.
Yeah.
And I don't know, maybe that's another reason I'm just not into the character.
Could be.
I'm just, he looks too much like Venom.
But so then the episode ends and he says, everyone will accept my help and I'll be the savior of the world, and you see Barry, bending the knee before Bloodwork. And so, of course, next week's episode, right before the penultimate episode before Crisis is dealing with, A, we got to get Barry back, and B, they got to deal with this, infection that is quickly taking over the city.
Well, I think they're going to tie it up very quickly for this episode. Not to say it's going to be a bad episode. I don't want that coming across. But I think that with Flash, and even with Arrow to a lesser degree, they're really playing it safe going into Crisis. Flash especially, because Flash is going to be one and done, what you would think, with Bloodwork, because I don't think he's staying around after Crisis.
No, I can't see it either.
No, I don't see that happening. Arrow, though, on the flip of the coin, is doing a different thing each episode leading into it. They've been very strong about it. They've been really standing out. So, I mean, let's go jump into that, shall we?
Sure. So that episode, of course, was Reset, and the best way I can put this is Edge of Tomorrow or Groundhog Day.
Well, perfect.
Oh, yeah, no, it was a great episode. The episode starts, Oliver wakes up, and he's in his apartment, and he has no recollection of how he got there, because the last thing he knew, it was he, Diggle, and Laurel standing on a building top with Lila pointing a gun at him. And he's like, wait, how did I get here? And he kind of sits up, and it's like that daze, you just woke up from a nap kind of thing, like, wait, where the heck am I? And his kids and their friend walk in with Belly Burger debating which belly burger is better, present day belly burger or future belly burger. And they go, hey, Dad, what are you doing here? You're supposed to, you're late. Late for what? And they go, the fundraiser you're supposed to be going to? And they hand him the invitation. It's a Star City Council fundraiser that he's supposed to be going to. And he goes, oh, okay. So he goes down to the fundraiser. He walks in, and there's a police officer or somebody he knows going in, hey, telling him a joke about something. I forget the exact word of the joke, but it's something about what's the difference between a police officer and the arrow or something like that. And he bumps into this girl who's carrying a tray of drinks, and he goes talking to Diggle, and he tries telling Diggle, like, hey, something's not right. And Diggle goes, no, nothing's wrong. Nothing's wrong. We're all good. And he starts, like, recalling things that have happened, and it's different from what his memory is. It's different from what is in this universe.
Yeah, it's really interesting to see kind of how they've been jumping around with this. And then, obviously, from last week's episode when they were in Russia, and to see that Lila's betrayal has set them up into the case, you almost wonder if they're almost in a hallucinogenic state, that they really are just trapped in their own minds. Kind of like how Barry was with Bloodsport.
Yeah.
So that was kind of the vibe I got from it. Because, with Lila's big betrayal last week, and everybody's now onto her game, it's hard to say that this is where it's going. But, yeah, you kind of get that sense that, everything, they're trying to act like everything's going on, but they really don't know what's going on.
Yeah, so basically, the episode works really well that it doesn't get too far strong. It kind of stays within this self-contained amount of time where he goes to this fundraiser. He meets up with the mayor of the city, who is played by one Quentin Lance. Yeah,
it was great seeing Quentin back on the show.
Oh, it was so great. And it threw him for a loop, and it was funny. He goes up and talks to him because he gets told, Wild Dog goes, oh, hey, the mayor wants to see you. He goes, oh, all right. And he walks up and he sees it's Quentin, and Quentin goes, oh, you look like you just seen a ghost.
Yeah.
And he goes, I think I did.
Yeah, no, it was a very cool thing to see Paul Blackthorne back on.
Yeah.
And just the interaction with him and Wild Dog. With him and with every character, but just to see that interaction was very cool to see.
Yeah, so they start going over a speech you're supposed to be giving because now it's, there's a vigilante task force concept that they've been developing, and they want to take it national, and they're really going to pitch it, and they got a joint speech they're going to give, and Quentin wants to add a couple jokes about Oliver in it, and he just wants to make sure they're okay. And he's asking him about things that occurred after he died. And he's going, wait a minute, no, this isn't right. And he goes, no, listen, Diaz shot you. He goes, yeah, Quentin goes, yeah, and I very nearly died. The doctors told me it was a miracle I survived. He said my brain was without oxygen for so long that they say I should have been 6 feet under, but I pulled through. So all the while he's asking things to Diggle and his team and Quentin that are how he knows them and how we know them, but it's not how they've occurred in this universe.
Right.
And Lila even shows up and he goes, wait, how can we trust her after what just happened? And she goes, no, you can trust me. We already established it. I'm working with the Monitor, but I'm a double agent on our side. So they then find out that there's a hostage situation going on at the police department and that they want to speak to the mayor. So he goes down there with the mayor as the Green Arrow, and they go in to talk to these people, and he starts talking to them, and they try to disarm him, but then they don't see the detonator in his hand, and he blows up a bomb. And then goes to light, wakes up, he's back in his apartment.
Right, so the Groundhog Day.
The Groundhog Day, wash, rinse, repeat. But the thing is he always keeps his memories, and it's one of those things like, all right, here's what I did. This is the outcome. I got to do this. And eventually he finds that he meets Laurel, and she goes, because this is a second trip through, and same things happen, but he keeps in mind, it gets to the point where later in the episode where the police gets to tell the joke, and he finishes it before him. And he doesn't bump into the girl with the drink. He takes the drink from her, and the second time through, he goes, okay, I know there's a bomb in the basement, goes into the basement and runs into Laurel, and he goes, what are you doing here? She goes, oh, I was here before, and I couldn't stop something. She goes, you're never going to believe it, but I'm stuck in a time loop. And he goes, no, well, funny story, I am too.
Yeah, so, that was kind of a little comic relief
there. So then they go and try to stop the bomb. The bomb doesn't go off. Well, and then the third time through, they realize that, they stopped the bomb, get out, and then Quentin is shot. And at some point along the way, they realize, all right, Quentin's the catalyst here. Every time he dies, things reset, so we got to keep him alive.
Right.
So it's a great series of events where it's just, the same setup, but then what happens once you get to the hostage situation, and even beyond that, because there's a point where they stop going to the hostage situation because they're like, all right, nothing good comes of this. They eventually track down where the base of operations, where the people who hired him are hiding out, and there's a great moment between Laurel and Quentin where, Quentin, they're trying to get out and they're facing down all of Argus, because we find out that Lila is the one staging these, hostage situations, and then the armed men fighting them in the warehouse, and it seemingly felt like it was all of Argus taking these guys on.
Right. You get that kind of sense that they had insurmountable odds, but yet they're still trying to find a way to make it happen.
Yeah, so they're trying to get Quentin out of there, and he gets shot and is gravely wounded, and you get the nice goodbye that Laurel never got with Quentin, or at least Earth whatever Laurel never got with Quentin when he died. That she finally gets to say goodbye, and she goes, "Listen, you died, and because they tell her, it's funny." Multiple times through every instance, they tell him that, okay, listen, here's what's going on. It's a time loop. You're not really supposed to be alive, and this, that, and the other. He goes, no, you know what? That makes sense. And at one point, Oliver goes, really? He goes, yeah, think about it. I've watched one of my daughters die and come back to life. And he just goes through some of the wild aspects that have happened over the course of these, seasons that go 8 seasons, and go, this is just another day for us.
Yeah, which is just kind of breaking a little fourth wall a little bit, little nod to the fans, but
a little bit.
But it made perfect sense.
No, it made perfect sense. But he finally says, no, listen. She tells him that, listen, because of what happened to you, I gave up my evil ways and I tried to become a hero. And he says, no, honey, you are a hero.
Yeah. So once he gives the cosign on,
and that ends up being her out for getting out of this loop, because Oliver's he's got to keep Quentin alive. But once she has that interaction with Quentin, we don't see her for the remainder of, the time loop. So Oliver keeps going and going and going and going. And Quentin goes, listen, how many times are we going to do this? 60, 100? He goes, as many as it takes to keep you alive and get out of here. He goes, no, listen, maybe this is just how it has to be. You have to let it go.
Right.
And he goes back, and for the final time in this time loop, he gets to the fundraiser, and he lets Quentin go off on his own for the hostage situation. He goes through another door, and he's back in the apartment, his old apartment, like earlier season's apartment. And Lila walks in, and she goes, so you finally figured it out. And he finally gets out of there, and then he and Laurel wake up in a tent at the end of the episode, and Lila told him, listen, you have one more test. You got to be ready for this. And they wake up in the tent, and they walk out of the tent, and his kids and Diggle, and they're all there. And his daughter goes, Dad, where are we? And to the eagle-eyed fans, it took me a second to pick up on it. You quickly realize where it is.
Back on Lian Yu.
They're back on Lian Yu.
It's very interesting. And the one thing I'm kind of getting the idea from Lila, I think she's already turned into Harbinger.
Ooh, that could be.
I think this season, which they'll backtrack during Crisis on Infinite Earth, which if that was a minor spoiler, read the book. And it's already been kind of getting posted. I mean, that she's been doing double duty. I think she's Harbinger already. And I think that they did the swap, or however they're going to explain how her character is Harbinger. That's how I think they're pulling this off. But where they're sending him back to Lian Yu, that is going to be a really interesting take that they're going to take, because now it's really become full circle. Because if I am not mistaken, if I'm doing my math right, next week's Arrow is going to be the last Arrow before Crisis.
Yes.
Now, we don't know the fate of Arrow coming back.
Correct.
So it is possible that post-Crisis, it's going to be a completely different show.
Yes, I think that is a very safe assumption, because they have said this is the final season, and that the final season is however many episodes there are. I forget off the top of my head.
See, I thought there was 10.
I want to say there was 2.
So, and the only question I have now, though, okay, if I'm doing my math right, next week's episode is 7. So then Crisis, I'm assuming that Arrow is going to be a part of that number, because I already know Supergirl is, Batwoman is, Flash is, and if I'm not mistaken, Black Lightning is appearing in it, but they're not doing a Black Lightning episode for Crisis. That is going to actually be the season premiere of Legends of Tomorrow. So thus, Arrow would have play the 5th episode in that mix.
Yeah.
So that being said, that's 8.
Mm-hmm.
So that means literally post-Crisis, because I don't think they're going to have any more new episodes in December after Crisis.
No, they're not.
Then that means in January you have the final 2 episodes of
Yep.
Arrow. And does that lead into the spinoff of the Canaries?
Could be. I mean, I'm looking at the IMDb, and yes, this week's episode was titled Reset. Next week's episode is titled Purgatory, which airs December 3rd, 2019. And then you have Crisis on Infinite Earths Part 4, which is slated for the 14th of January, 2020. And then this is according to the IMDb page I'm looking at for Arrow. And then you have 2 episodes after that, which the episode 9 is titled What They Become. There's no description about it or anything, and it's got a premiere date of the 21st of January 2020 listed. And then the final episode is titled Fade Out.
Interesting.
Mm-hmm.
Very, very interesting.
So yeah, I get the feeling that, episode 9 is going to be kind of like the fallout, quote unquote, of whatever happens with Crisis and dealing with, Barry's death and that whole thing. And I definitely get the feeling that episode 10 is going to be the setup, or at least kind of because whenever you see a spin-off show, usually it's like an episode, like a spin-off of a show. There's an episode that, like, if it's got an overarching story, it doesn't kind of fit. It kind of is like a little out of place, but it's the catalyst for what is going to start that new show. I can see the Fade Out is going to be kind of like the homage wrap up for everything with Arrow, and then maybe also simultaneously set up the spin-off.
It's kind of a little puzzling if I'm say I'm doing my math right again.
Mm-hmm.
So the week of December 8th,
Mm-hmm.
Crisis is supposed to be taking place, right?
Yep.
Okay. So that means Batwoman's episode that week is Crisis. Flash's episode that week is Crisis.
Mm-hmm.
Supergirl's episode that week is Crisis.
Mm-hmm.
Legends premieres.
Mm-hmm.
Arrow is getting slated for January.
That's according to the IMDb page.
Right. So unless that's a typo,
That might be.
that would have to be. That has to be. Because why would they wait to close? Can you imagine if CW says, yeah, we're going to give you 4 episodes and then make you wait till January to close out Crisis?
Well, to be fair, Marvel made us wait a year for figure out what happened after Infinity War.
Okay, different scenario.
No, I know.
Different scenario. Mid-story.
Yeah.
Wow. If they want to go that route, do you, CW, do you. But I would not want to be near the social media that day if you decide to go, yeah, we're going to leave you on cliffhanger and then from season 4, and then we'll bring it back in January.
Yeah.
Or after that. That's got to be a typo, so we'll have to kind of dig into that as we go. But overall, Arrow, like we said, has been very strong going in. And like how they're doing their final season, I'm really enjoying.
Oh, so am I.
And I'm definitely digging it in every aspect. Not to say that the other CW shows haven't been good. Black Lightning has been good. It's kind of in a different direction
Sure.
than it's kind of originally started in, but I do like where they're going. Same thing with Supergirl, dealing with Leviathan and kind of the wild take, even though I'm trying to like read the comic first before I dig into too much of what they're doing in Supergirl, because I'm just trying to see like the comparisons. Because like I said, anytime you talk Leviathan and what they're currently doing in the Superman books is like a completely wild take.
Yeah.
So to see what they're doing now, Supergirl, like I said, has been also in a different direction than I thought it was going to be in, but it's been enjoyable, and Batwoman has gotten better. Tying in more characters from the Batverse into Kate Kane's world is working. I know they just did Julia Pennyworth, Alfred's niece, who you did see in the Scott Snyder Greg Capullo run.
Right.
So obviously they're kind of just playing it very safe going in with Batwoman. Obviously after Crisis, I think you're going to see a whole new element happen because, like I said, from the different Earths, now everybody's getting merged into one. It's going to have a lot more stories to tell.
All right, so I've been doing some digging on the IMDb pages. Like you said, Supergirl leads off Crisis on Infinite Earths Part 1 on the 8th of December 2019. Now, bear in mind, these are all according to IMDb. Batwoman is Part 2 of that, airing on December 9th, 2019.
So that's Monday.
Yep, Flash is Part 3. Which airs on December 10th,
Tuesday,
2019. Now, going in order of the shows when they air, Black Lightning doesn't have an episode tying into Crisis. There is an episode that is supposed to air on. There was an episode that aired this past week. You have another episode airing on the 2nd of December, and then there's a final episode, episode 10 of the season. Doesn't have a release date on IMDb yet. Switching over, you have Legends of Tomorrow, season 1 premiere. Season 5 premieres. It looks like the 14th of January on 2020, and then part 4, which is before that, is like I said, Arrow on the 14th of January 2020. So yeah, no, they're going
to split it for a month.
They're going to split the 3-part. There's going to be a hell of a cliffhanger.
Oh, I did not realize this until now.
No, yeah, neither did I. No, there's going to be a hell of a cliffhanger, and they're going to make us wait a month.
You want to wait a week, or you want my official spoiler now?
No, say it now.
They're going to kill off Brandon Roth, and it's going to be Supergirl holding him in his arms.
Ooh.
It's going to be that camera shot.
I can see that.
It's going to be that camera shot. I mean, the Brandon Roth Kingdom Come Superman.
Right.
Is going to happen.
I just want Tom Welling in the suit.
Oh, we're going to definitely dive into that next week to give the preview for Crisis and give our predictions of what's going to happen. But if they're taking off 3 out of 5.
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
Yeah, no, so Batwoman.
CW, you got some explaining to do.
Supergirl, Batwoman, and The Flash, part 1, 2, and 3 are all in the same week, and then they wait a month and come back in January for part 4 and 5.
That's nuts.
And they have not advertised this at all. They the only advertise, and I'm not criticizing them in any way.
No,
I'm just calling it out that they keep advertising this. Oh, the CW's 5-episode crossover, Crisis on Infinite Earths, starting December 8th.
Yeah.
They have not advertised in any way, shape, or form that there's going to be a break in this.
Yeah, no, they keep saying 5 nights.
Mm-hmm.
Wow. They got some explaining to do. Oh, my gosh, they got some explaining to do.
Yeah, they do.
Yow. All right, I'm getting a little too amped up about this. So definitely hit us up on the social media, will you? Hashtag ODPH. Join in that conversation. You can find the links on OchoDuroParlayHour.com. What is your thoughts now on Crisis getting split up over a month?
Yeah.
What's the cliffhanger going to be? We're definitely going to deep dive into this more next week. But what was your thoughts on Arrow and Flash this week? What's your thoughts on Supergirl and Batwoman? Have we been sleeping on those shows? Or is that something that we can definitely get by without watching in the Crisis? Because I've been catching up a little bit here and there. Like I said, it's been good. Hasn't been like blow away great, but it's been good. But if there's been something we were missing, definitely hit us up. Let us know. And the countdown to Crisis is officially on the ODPH. So hit us up. We're going to take a quick break. We'll be right back.
Good day. I'm Ken.
And I'm Steve, and we're the hosts of the Nerd Cantina Show, where nerd culture and society intersect.
Whether you come for entertainment news
or some space and science talk,
we are here to keep you informed on weekly nerd topics and discuss how they affect us as a society.
As well as having in-depth interviews in our Cantina Conversation and Fight Me Fridays.
Just like any cantina, we want you to join in on the conversation.
From our blog at thenerdcantina.com, our voicemail line, or our closed Facebook group at thenerdcantina.com/community, where we really get to interact with our fans.
So pull up a stool and get involved in our community.
2, 3, 4. Hey, this is Johnny Moose from Excite Wrestling, and you're listening to the ODPH. I didn't mess it up. I thought I would. Right now, back to the guys.
Coming back for another segment on this edition of the ODPH, and I want to talk some Titans.
Teen Titans?
Yes, to a degree, but it is Titans on the DC Universe.
Oh, okay.
Now, Season 2 is wrapping up this Friday as we are recording.
Mm-hmm.
So, overall, this season has been an improvement over last.
Sure.
It definitely has gone in more of the comic book vein of the Marv Wolfman, George Perez run.
Mm-hmm.
Has it been a home run out of the park? Debatable. I think it's been a vast improvement. I'm going to talk some spoilers, just because I know you haven't been too familiar, but I want to see if I'm giving you all this information, would you be excited to go watch this on Friday? See, that's kind of the vibe I'm getting.
Okay.
Because I do interact with a lot of the independent podcasts. Shout out to everybody out there doing independent podcasts. And this show has been kind of polarizing a little bit.
Okay.
Because obviously we knew going into last season, really didn't know what to expect off the bad
Even
trailer.
more polarizing than it might be this season.
Yes. I definitely was, but it showed that there was some signs of life that they could actually make work on the show.
Yeah.
And they definitely have done that. I mean, obviously, wasn't blown away by the season premiere, but they did wrap up the Trigon stuff.
Sure.
And like I said, we are talking spoilers. But then we finally get down to Deathstroke.
Mm-hmm. And
then the history of the Titans as we go. And this is where we really kind of find out why everybody is so brooding. That the Titans were a little more happy-go-lucky years ago.
Sure.
That, I mean, they had Robin, Hawk and Dove, Wonder Girl was on the team, and Aqualad.
Oh, yeah.
So you kind of find out a little more background as it's going, and basically when Dick Grayson is now trying to reenact the Titans and really bring out the Ravens and the Beast Boys and Jason Todd into the mix, and this now awakens Deathstroke's awareness to the team after he thought he ended them.
Right.
The whole season has kind of been a back and forth about, okay, why is Deathstroke after him? And we do find out the reason that Deathstroke does blame Dick Grayson for the death of his son, Jericho, which is a wild take in its own right because we find out that Jericho is actually alive inside Slade Wilson.
Uh-oh.
Yes, which if you know anything about his powers, he does body jump
Sure.
to take over.
Sure.
And it does find out that he is lurking inside Slade Wilson, who at the time was doing a simple hit on somebody connected to Donna Troy. Unfortunately, Aqualad took the bullet.
Right.
And the Teen Titans decided to go after him, and obviously were outmatched and
A little bit.
completely wasted. But Dick Grayson came up with this scheme of ultimate revenge because essentially he's been trying to duck becoming Batman in this entire season. That's been kind of the underlying factor of this season. That he's now had this coming of age where he's really had to really set himself aside and really kind of find his voice because he hasn't done it. I mean, Brendan Thwaites, who has been playing Dick Grayson since the get-go, has really kind of tried to carve his own niche.
Sure.
That he's not exactly the happy-go-lucky Dick Grayson that everybody loves from the comics.
Right.
But he's been trying to definitely play off it. And then obviously Ian Glenn, who has been playing Bruce Wayne this season, has definitely pushed him and really brought out some really good acting from him, I thought. Because in this DC universe, Bruce Wayne is not exactly, I don't want to say well-liked, kind of the vibe I get, but there is a lot of animosity from Dick Grayson.
He's got his fair share of haters.
He does, and obviously it's just how he works and how he pushes and really tries getting the most out of his team, and obviously that's the entire Bat family. Like I said, we've only seen Jason Todd appear, and I mean Kern Walters there has played him as well as he can, but it's just kind of weird seeing Jason Todd happy-go-lucky.
Yeah, I can imagine.
He's still annoying as all blazes.
Well, okay.
Yeah, which, I mean, I did like it that during mid-season there, they were having the old 1-800 number come back.
Oh, God.
Which they weren't implying for the show because the show's already been taped.
Right.
But it was just kind of funny to see that they actually brought it back because if you know anything about the Jason Todd history,
yeah. Well, and that's a deep cut for fans, and just one of those things that, like, okay, whenever you bring up the Jason Todd story and the lineage, that story of the 1-800 number is going to come up, whether you're talking about any real life, like when they were writing it process or not.
Yeah, no, but it was just kind of cool to see the DC Universe throw that back up there and still see everybody was like, yeah, you might want to kill him off. Nothing against the actor, it's just the character. How he becomes Red Hood is actually a lot better than him being Robin.
Right.
I have to say, I actually don't mind his Red Hood. I did mind his Arkham Knight because I just thought that was a bad idea for a villain, but that's my own opinion about that, so we go from there. But as we see, though, Dick Grayson is now trying to lead the next generation of Titans. Tegan Croft is Raven, Ryan Potter is Beast Boy, and really trying to see what they can make of this team and see if they can rewrite the mistakes. And obviously the former team members have a lot to say about it. Minka Kelly, who plays Dawn, and Alan Richardson, who plays Hawk, definitely are very opposed to this. They're trying to have a life outside of this. Connor Leslie, who's been a great addition as Donna Troy on the show, is really kind of seeing, okay, what do we have? And then, like I said, the star of the show, and I've been saying this for a while, is Ann Diop, who plays Starfire. And really kind of seeing, okay, they're now thrown into the mix, or Starfire is, and just kind of see the dynamic get thrown in, that Dick Grayson's plan of really trying to make something happen with this team, it might not be the best idea, because once Deathstroke starts lurking around and you see how absolutely cold and calculating he is, and if you read the comics, you understand that. But factor in that his daughter is now in the mix,
right,
is also a wild predicament to think about as well. Because when you see the Ravager in the comics, you really kind of saying, okay, what is going to happen here? And you don't really know, because she's such a wild card in the comics.
Yeah.
That to see where she would appear on this, I mean, Chelsea Zhang, who plays Rose, has done a very good job of keeping it very hidden about where her true intentions are. And the sense that you get is they do borrow a lot from the comics, and the classic storyline where Terra is the traitor on the Titans.
Right.
They do implement a lot into Ravager being it, but then Ravager changes her mind because she's having a romance now with Jason Todd, which is kind of a wild scenario.
A little bit.
Right. But going into the final stretch run we've had, they reveal the whole origin about how the hatred becomes personal between Deathstroke and Dick Grayson. And Dick Grayson's ultimately driven, I don't want to say insane because that's not the right word. But he's so overcome with guilt, he gets himself arrested because he feels he needs to pay for Jericho's death.
Right.
And actually gets arrested at an airport and is put in jail.
Uh-oh.
Which he is a very well-known character because of his alter ego, who is a police officer in jail, and obviously the interaction between them, inmates and...
Oh, so yeah, based off of movies and TV shows I've seen, police officers ending up in prison, oftentimes prisons where there are people in there they have imprisoned themselves, never a good mix.
Right, so obviously there's some tension there as that's going on, and you're really seeing how the team is falling apart without him there. I mean, Rachel is coming to terms with Trigon possessing her and where her character is going. You see that Hawk and Dove take off on their own escapades, and ultimately Hawk is driven, away by his own demons.
Right.
And Dawn teams up with Donna Troy to kind of figure out, okay, where are we going to go from here? Because during mid-season, they introduced Connor Kent, who's played by Joshua Orpin. They are establishing Cadmus now is involved in this universe. And what they're now doing is experimenting on Connor and Beast Boy.
Oh, boy.
And at one point, they now have Beast Boy under mind control.
That's never good.
So he can flip out into his tiger form a lot. I mean, Nellie Germans, who plays Mercy Graves, who from the cartoon of Superman, the right hand of Lex Luthor, who's now overseeing Cadmus at this stage.
Made a brief appearance in Smallville, if I remember right.
I think so.
Not long. Couple episodes in one season, but made an appearance.
Basically for a cup of coffee.
Yeah.
And you really see how she's been, pulling some strings there. And really, we don't know what the end game is other than they're now experimenting with Superman's DNA and obviously Lex Luthor, as if you know the character. Connor Kent.
We know what happens when you do that. Nothing good.
Nothing good at all. But now that you're factoring Beast Boy and the rest of the Titans are now coming to save him, so to speak, except... I mean, Corey has her own history going on in her world because, as we find out, there is just more going on with her sister Blackfire coming after her, and just the messy situation going on with their own home planet's royalty.
Yeah,
that she's now trying to escape that and get back with the team because at this stage, Dick Grayson is now escaping from jail. He's now basically battled his own inner demon and kind of had his own coming to terms with what happened with Jericho, and he believes that Jericho is alive inside Slade Wilson, which we do see a couple flashbacks that does show that he is. Now, to what extent and where he is right now at this stage, we don't know.
Right.
That could have a lot going on. But the one thing that we did see this entire season, which is a big takeaway, is him burning the Robin suit.
Right.
So now what happens if he's no longer Robin?
He's got to pick up a certain mantle he takes up. I believe it's called NightWing.
Yes, and they did release that for the trailer going into Friday.
Oh, boy.
That he is now Nightwing, and he's going to have that final face-off with Deathstroke.
Oh, boy.
As Nightwing. And they do tease a Titan will fall.
Uh-oh.
Now, I don't know which one it's going to be. It could be anybody.
It's going to be Rick Grayson.
I hope it's Rick Grayson. I am sorry. I'm not sold on that character. That's if there's one thing. Okay, you're getting me on a side tangent. It's going to happen. If there's one thing I did not like about Tom King's run is Rick Grayson emerged. Okay, which I understand what happened, but still, we can wipe this away at any time, folks. I'm good with it. I can't stand Rick Grayson in the comics. Nothing against who's writing him. I don't like the character. Give me back Dick Grayson. Let's go. But going in with this, we now see that everybody is now coming slowly back to San Francisco to save the team. We see about Hank and battling his own demons and losing is just turning absolutely messy. We see how Bruce Wayne is actually bringing the team back together for this, too.
Yeah.
So just overall, the season has been a vast improvement. And where they've gone, they've definitely combined different elements. Adding Connor Kent to the mix, because you typically don't tag him with Dick Grayson.
Right.
He's more with Tim Drake, as we've seen with the Young Justice line that's recently came out. To see this get implemented, Pat, what is your thoughts about this? Is this something interesting? Is it not?
It definitely sounds compelling. I mean, I know I've seen a couple episodes from the first season, but other things got in the way of watching Cough Cough, Mandalorian Cough Cough.
Mm-hmm.
But no, it's definitely something I feel like I got to check out.
Yeah, I definitely would recommend it. I know that I've heard a lot of mixed results for the season finale, which, if it's anything like last season's finale, they're justified. Last season's finale, I was a big tease, and it failed, in my opinion. I'm really interested to see how this one plays out because I think the season overall has been a vast improvement. I think that now they've started following the comic storylines to a degree. They haven't followed them to the letter. And when you're implementing different characters' interaction, like Jason Todd is still in the mix.
Right.
You still have Ravager in the mix. Whatever's going to happen with Jericho, because I fully sense that character is going to come back, albeit could be in a different body, I don't know, comics. Just something's going to happen there.
Yeah.
To see where they go from here is going to be interesting because it has been reported Season 3 has been greenlit.
Okay.
So they are going to come back with a Season 3. Where they're going to go from here, I don't know, because after Deathstroke, there's only a few different characters you could do.
Yeah.
I mean, Blackfire is one, and I know they've definitely teased her coming onto the show for Starfire. Anybody after that, though, is kind of fair game, and it'd be really interesting to see. So I just want to see them end the season strong. I feel they're going to.
Right.
I don't want to see them just have a letdown and just a quick reasons ending, and then we go on from there. Because obviously, if they're threatening to kill off one character, they got to come through with it, and it's got to make sense.
And it's got to be big. It's got to be one of those, well, it's not the biggest deal that they're dead.
I know, like the early take, I would guess is maybe Jason Todd because comics.
Yeah.
Or I could definitely see it being Hawk at this stage.
Yeah.
At this stage.
Okay.
Even though I do like the characters on the show, I think they have a nice dynamic, and there's definitely the tension in there that you could see between teammates. And to bring in the old with the new and get the mix in,
sure,
I think it's worth checking out, and especially for the DC universe, for this being their flagship show. Like I say, with The Mandalorian coming out, high expectations for a brand new streaming service. Same thing happened with the Titans.
Yeah.
But this one has definitely gotten better. Is it the best one on the series or the service? No.
That's Batman, the animated series.
For animated, yes. For live action, 2 words, Doom Patrol. At me at OD Parlay Hour. Doom Patrol is by far and away the best one. Animated-wise, they got Harley Quinn coming out, and then whatever is going on with Stargirl, which I know we had some conflicting reports that I was trying to report on this week. Stargirl, we are hearing, is going to be on the streaming service, but the following week it's coming to the CW. There's something going on with that. I want to dig in a little bit more on that to get that information to you. So you can definitely hit me up during the week if you want to know a little bit more about it. I'm going to just start digging into that situation. But it's kind of a weird thing that they're doing. It's going to air first, and then it's going to replay.
Sure.
Like, I don't know if it's going to be something like for the CW Seed. They have that going on, so it might be. But overall, though, Titans is closing out Season 2 this Friday as we are recording. NightWing is officially there. The costume has been seen. It's not hidden on the internet.
Yeah.
You can definitely find out. It was in the trailer. And obviously going into this to tie up what storyline they're basing this off of, like I said, I think it's a Judas contract. Just they flipped some different elements, which it's been good. It hasn't been great, but it's been good. So it's definitely worth the watch after Mandalorian because both come out on Friday.
Yes.
So definitely hit me up on hashtag ODPH. What is your thoughts about Titans Season 2? Did you like it? Did you not? And why? Let's have that conversation, shall we? We're going to take a quick break. We'll be right back.
It's a heartbreak, soul-shaped radio attack. Taking 4 steps forward, no steps back.
Hey, this is Vince the Common Man Seattle, a local MMA fighter, telling you to keep on listening to the ODPH, the 607's up-and-coming newest podcast.
Coming back for the final segment on this edition of the ODPH Pad. What you got for those one-shots?
Got a couple quick things, though. First of which is I'm hearing some rumblings online that there's something Star Wars related coming tomorrow. Of course, tomorrow in the United States is Thanksgiving. And to all of our listeners in the United States, happy Thanksgiving. We hope you are enjoying the festivities with your family, friends, loved ones, whoever you celebrate with. But obviously one of the big things that goes on during Thanksgiving, for those who might live internationally or don't know, is American football is played.
Yes.
And it is, 3 big games that a lot of people like to tune in and watch. So with the big viewership, something Star Wars is coming related to. We haven't been able to pin down what exactly, but one person I do trust tweeted out a couple emojis, one being a turkey, the other being a football with the hashtag Star Wars, and said tomorrow. Something's coming. Don't know what, but hey, we'll see.
I mean, Star Wars Rise of Skywalker is coming out when? 24th?
The 20th.
20th? Okay.
So under a month.
So it's under 1 month. All right, so it can't be another trailer.
No, because if I'm not mistaken, the last one that came out was the quote-unquote final trailer.
Right, so that gets rid of that. All right, it can't be the Obi-Wan.
No, that's still in pre-production.
Is it something Mandalorian?
Maybe. I don't. For all we know, it could just be. For all we know, it could just be a new TV spot. Because those have been starting to come out, and new ones, and new footage, and new this and new that. So we'll see.
I mean, anything's possible with
Yeah.
it. Maybe they're finally going to do the Boba Fett origin story, or a shout out to the holiday special.
Oh yes, that's out there. If you really want to see that gem of a movie, go to YouTube. It's on there.
Bring it on.
Oh, it's so bad, so bad. And I say this as a Star Wars fan. It's bad.
The only thing good about it was Boba Fett.
Even that's debatable because it's really bad animation.
Still, it started the ball.
But moving on, the other thing I got to talk about is last week, as we after we recorded, the folks over at Gearbox announced the first paid DLC that's coming out for Borderlands 3. Of course, I just finished it the other week. Great game. Gave me the false ending at one point where I beat what I thought was going to be the final boss, because heading into it, you say goodbye to everyone on your ship, and you're like, oh, this is going to be the final mission. You beat the boss, and you get this cliffhanger ending, and it says the story will continue in 4. And it's in the same font style as customary with the Borderlands games. I'm like, oh, okay, they're announcing they're going to do a 4th one. That makes sense. 3, 2, 1, resumes. So they false ending me. They suckered me in on it, but it was great. Great ending, great game. Can't wait to see where they go with it. But they have announced that the first paid DLC is coming out. Of course, the Halloween event is still going on through the 5th of December, if I'm not mistaken. But this is the first paid DLC that is coming out, and it is titled Moxie's Heist of the Handsome Jack Pot.
Interesting.
Yeah, so the description of it reads, the gist is, quote, the gist is that Moxie's recruiting you to break into a derelict space station built by the infamous Handsome Jack, back when he was still president of the Hyperion Corporation. This new adventure takes place on the Handsome Jackpot, a glitzy casino matching the massive ego of its now deceased owner, and sees you attempting to reach the casino's core and take control of the station. That's easier said than done. The place is crawling with multiple models of Hyperion loader bots who will try to kill you on sight, as well as lunatic looters who have been trapped aboard the Handsome Jackpot ever since Jack's death. The Handsome Jackpot is quite possibly the gaudiest gambling spot in the galaxy, with neon signs, slot machines, and gold statues all over the place. The finishing touch is a huge hologram of Handsome Jack himself, as he posthumously lords over the casino of his own creation. Only it's not really his creation at all. Moxie shared her casino idea with Jack back when they were dating, only for Jack to steal her dream designs when they broke up. This elaborate heist is Moxie's way of getting back at her ex for good. To me, and you can find the trailer on YouTube and on the Borderlands.com website, to me, this just kind of screams of like Ocean's 11 meets Borderlands humor, and it's going to be amazing.
It sounds interesting. Like I'm not the biggest Borderlands guy, but it definitely sounds worth checking out.
Yeah,
for me. So I mean, I'll definitely have to see when it comes out.
Yeah, no, it looks great, and I can't wait to jump into it. And if I'm not mistaken, this weekend through Sunday, if not Monday, PlayStation and Xbox, you can play Borderlands for free.
All right, hey, better deal. So definitely check that out. So let's talk a little Walking Dead, shall we?
Yes.
So Pad, you saw the finale. I did not.
Yes.
So let's give. You want to talk some spoilers on it?
Sure.
All right. So break it down for us. Was it worth it?
Yeah, no, I'd say it was. They didn't do the ending I thought they were going to do, and I'm going to reserve what I think that ending is because it's still in play. But the gist of the episode is it's the fallout of Sadiq's death, and kind of like they're interrogating Dante and figuring out and going back and looking at their interview process. And even at one point in the episode, Gabriel is watching the tape he filmed of him interviewing Dante, trying to figure out, all right, was there something I missed? Is there, what the heck's going on? And at one point, so they then radio to Michonne that, hey, Sadiq's dead. Here's the story. Michonne finally gets to Oceanside and basically says, hey, listen, and whatever interview process you gave for people, you got to do it over. Like you got to redo it. You got to do all this stuff. Along the way, they met up with they went into a library because Judith really wanted to go to the library. So they figured out why not, and they picked up some books, and there was a few zombies in the library that attacked some of their members there and were saved by this random guy. And they're like, oh, hey, they go to thank him, but he bolts off before they can say anything. They get to Oceanside, and this guy's now trying to sneak into Oceanside and steal a boat and sail to sail off and steal stuff. And they confront the guy. He goes, hey, listen, I don't have any ill intent. I have a family. I haven't seen them in a number of weeks because I haven't been able to get back. I need to get back to my family. So, you go throughout the episode. It's a really good episode, but you get to the end of the episode, or towards the end of the episode, and the whisperer that Aaron has been meeting up with on the bridge for the past few episodes, finally is like opening up a little bit. And she finally reveals that the child that was saved that is now in Alexandria's care is her nephew. Mm-hmm. And that she says, hey, that's my nephew. I'd like to see him. It's the only living family I have left. And Aaron says, well, we can't do that. Given everything your group has done, no. She goes, well, how about we do a trade? I give you some information you can use, and in turn, you let me see the baby. And Aaron tells her, well, first I'd have to hear what you said, verify it, and then go from there. And the scene just cuts. Mm-hmm. You don't find out what's going on. And later in the episode, Aaron reveals to the council, hey, listen, Mary is the woman's name, or was the woman's name before everything went to what in a handbasket. Gave me some information where the Alpha's herd is.
Okay.
And they're like, all right, we gotta go see this. We gotta verify this. We gotta go take it out. So Daryl, Carol, Aaron, and a bunch of others go out to find said herd, which turns out to be just over the border into Whisperer territory. And they get to the field where it should be, and there's nothing there. And Aaron's adamant that it's there, that she could have moved it. He's like, listen, I may be wrong about a lot of things, but I'm right on this. Mm. And Daryl's pissed off. He's feeling like they wasted time. They got to go back. And the entire time they're walking over there, Carol keeps feeling like she sees something. And finally, she goes to look out into a field, and in the camera, Daryl goes, hey, Carol, come on. We all got to stay together. She's like, no, you guys go ahead. I'll catch up with you. No, and she kind of starts doing a slow walk forward towards the camera, and Daryl goes up with her. Camera cuts, and there is, in fact, a figure across the field. And then the camera zooms in or cuts, and you see who it is. It's Alpha.
Yeah, that can't be any good for anybody.
No, so Carol, in her infinite wisdom, goes tearing off after her, and Daryl and crew go running off after her. They go into what looked to me to be like some sort of bunker, underground facility type thing, because it was very hard to see. It was covered in moss and vines and stuff. And Daryl's the last one to go in. He goes in, pitch black dark, Bowie knives, both knives out, and he whispers, Carol. And he falls, and the next thing you know is you see the entire group there getting up at once, and you hear a very loud noise. They've found the herd. It's in this cave that they're now in the bottom of.
Oh, that can't be good for anybody.
Cut to the end of this season, comes back, end of the mid-season finale, comes back in February.
Well, you obviously got to think somebody's got to get killed out of this mess.
Yeah, I mean, you got to figure given, they don't do a full zoom out, you see how many there are, but just given, the immediate vicinity you see, there's a lot.
Yeah, no, there's got to be a lot. So, obviously, I just hope they don't Glenn this, where we fake his death underneath the dumpster and he magically survives. Let's take somebody out. If it's got to be Michonne, let it be Michonne. Because I know that she's still leaving the series.
Well, that's the thing. Michonne's not there. Michonne, at this point, is still over at Oceanside.
Oh, okay. That's right.
She's still over in Oceanside, and she's made the agreement with the gentleman, who I'm blanking on the name of who it is. They actually give the character a name. She agrees to go with said guy to where this, his family or his group is, and then take the boat back to Oceanside and give the boat back to Oceanside.
Oh, so that's how they're going to write her off.
Yeah, so you see the ship, there's a shot in the episode of looking down of the boat on the ocean, sailing out.
Okay. Well, then they got to take somebody else out. Because, like I said, if everybody walks away from this scot-free, there's
no way they do, especially with Alpha being there and knowing they're there.
Yeah, they need to do something. That just needs to happen. So, obviously, they got a ways to go in February. We did get some more Walking Dead news this week.
Yeah.
That the spinoff has now been officially titled The Walking Dead World Beyond.
Mm-hmm.
Still not excited about this one.
No, I mean, I'm like I said before, not sold on it. I've got to see a trailer and even the first episode to make a judgment call. Is it the best title? No, but I've said that before about other things and been wrong.
Yeah, which, like I said, I'll give it a shot. But like I said, I don't know. I know 3 Fat Nerds touch upon this, and I'm kind of with them a little bit. I'm kind of having zombie fatigue.
Yeah, a little bit. I mean, I'm definitely going to stick with Walking Dead because I still enjoy that. I mean, I don't, like I've said before, I don't watch Fear the Walking Dead just because I didn't enjoy it. I know it's gotten better, but I just can't jump back into it.
Yeah.
I'll give, World Beyond a shot, but if I don't like it, like I said, if I don't like it, I'm not going to keep going with it.
Yeah, like I said, I'll give it the first episode, and it's got to really wow me because other than that, I'm just like, we'll see. So for my one shots, I'm just going to very quickly speak about Watchmen.
Okay.
Watchmen was absolutely wild this week. That, like I say, I still have my reservations about doing the series anyway, because I don't think Watchmen needed a TV show sequel set, how many years after.
Sure.
But this past week's episode, they definitely went into a direction that if you've read the books, it'll make a lot of sense. Giving a origin story to one of the original characters on the show that I don't think anybody saw coming. And it is absolutely, I don't even want to spoil it. So I'm just going to say that if you're a fan of the comic that Alan Moore wrote, you should check it out. And then, hit me up on social media and let me know what your take is of the episode. Because I thought it was great. I did not see it coming, and just how they've really spun the origin story of that character. It was truly, a definitely different take that I was not expecting. And like I said, I thought the whole episode was wild. I know they only got a couple more episodes left, so I'm really interested to see how they're going to wrap it up. Because I think that now they've finally gotten better, but albeit I think they tie into a little too much of what Alan Moore originally wrote. Like I think you're starting to see some telegraphing of certain elements he did. However, this origin, not so much. This was definitely a original take that I did not even think was something I would see on the show. So it was definitely it was a great episode, but it's definitely a take that you're not expecting. So obviously, if you got HBO and you're a fan of the books, you should be checking it out. And obviously, we can have that conversation on social media.
Yeah.
It was also reported this week that DC and Warner Brothers are talking about doing more rated R films.
Yeah, I'm all for it.
For their universe. There was an article that I believe was in Variety.
Yeah, Variety had a nice long article kind of detailing or alluding to what DC is planning on doing in the future. And you know what? I'm all for it. If they do more R-rated films, that's a niche that they can fill. I mean, let's be honest. They can't go the Marvel route because everyone will just sit there going, oh, you're just copying Marvel. So carve your own path. Set up your own universe. If they want to go the route of the shared universe, go that route. Do a PG-13 R-rated universe because let's be honest, that's not a route Marvel will be able to go down. Now, obviously, Deadpool is the exception, and I feel like they can't do a Deadpool movie if it's not rated R.
Right.
But you're not going to start seeing Captain America R-rated movies or Iron Man R-rated movies or stuff like that. So this is a niche that I think DC can do and kind of make their own path and show, hey, you can do an R-rated movie universe.
So let me ask you this, because I know you're always your instant answer is Batman Beyond. What character would you like to see in an R-rated movie from DC?
That's a good question.
I got mine if you want.
Yeah.
Deathstroke.
Ooh, that'd be good.
Give me Joe Manganiello.
Yeah, no, that'd be good.
And give him his due. I know it's Snyderverse. I don't care.
Yeah.
Let him do a Deathstroke movie.
Yeah.
I think it will do well. The other one I know, common man Vince Totally from Crow's Nest MMA. He wants to see Etrigan the Demon.
Oh Lord.
He wants give him that Justice League Dark Universe. So that's definitely.
I'd like to. You know what? I'd like to see a good Constantine movie.
Constantine could do a good movie.
Get Matt Ryan to play him. Do a good R-rated Constantine movie.
Yeah, I'm all for it. If they don't want to go big screen with it, go to HBO Max with it.
Yeah.
Give the characters some justice there, because there are a lot of great books they can do that are R-rated. Would be considered.
Oh yeah.
I mean, even some Batman stories are borderline R-rated.
Yeah.
So you have to throw that in the mix. I know a couple other ones they were tossing around. J.J. Abrams and Superman has been kind of loosely.
Let it happen, please, for the love of God. Let it happen.
Yeah, I'm all for it. Let him do some producing on that. Henry Cavill is still saying that he is still Superman.
To be fair, Ben Affleck also said he'd be Batman until his dying breath.
Right, but Affleck has already been replaced.
Yeah, no,
So
that's the thing, and I know there's a rumor going around that Henry Cavill is going to make an appearance in Black Adam as Superman. Stop. No. It's going to be an origin story involving the JSA. There's also the little wrench thrown into that whole theory, given the fact he will be in the middle of filming season 2 of The Witcher, when they're going to be filming Black Adam. So yeah, he's not going to be in Black Adam
unless it's a post-credit cameo.
Yeah,
that's the only thing I think, because now it's been leaked out that the Dwayne Johnson project is finally getting a release date, and the JSA, Justice Society of America, is going to be involved in it somehow. Which give it to me. I am all there for it.
Yeah, and I know that Michael B. Jordan has pitched his Superman plot story idea to DC, but like I guess the one thing holding that up is his schedule.
Right, which I mean, I'm all for it. Like, you know, if they want, if it's a fresh take and it's quality writing and acting, I'm all for it. Like I don't get hung up on stuff like that.
No, neither do I.
So I'm all for it if they want to do that. The only other thing that I know is kind of getting some more traction, but honestly, I don't care about this movie idea. Ezra Miller and the Flash is allegedly back on.
I'll believe it when I see a trailer.
Exactly.
Until I start seeing set photos, and I'm talking set photos, current day, him in the suit with people that didn't appear in Justice League, I'll believe it.
Yeah.
But to me, this is kind of like the Duke Nukem Half-Life 3 scenario where, okay, I'll believe, like it's been rumored and hinted at for so long, I'll believe it when I actually see it.
Yeah, same here. So, but honestly, like there's been so many stories involved in that. Like honestly, I'm at this stage, I don't even care.
Yeah, no, neither do I.
No, I'm already checked out about that. So the only thing I know is Birds of Prey is coming out in February, and I'm excited to see it.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, I don't think it's gonna be the greatest movie ever, but I think it'll be entertaining, and if it's gonna be connected to the Suicide Squad by James Gunn, give it to me.
And allegedly James Gunn's Suicide Squad is going to be R-rated, or they're going to shoot for it.
It would make a lot of sense to do that.
Yeah, oh yeah.
You can't do a Suicide Squad if it's not R-rated. I'm sorry. You can't. And to end the one-shots on a positive note, because we're going to the holiday season, it has been announced that there will be Baby Yoda merchandise hitting the shelves.
Good luck finding it.
Oh man, yeah, I know that's going to be.
And I'm not saying that because they're going to be real scarce of putting stuff out. No, they'll put stuff out, but it's going to be like, you know, when Tickle Me Elmo first came out, you know, back in the late 90s, trying to find this thing. You're going to have to like fight people off.
Yeah, absolutely. So I mean, I'm all there for it.
I'm talking like Arnold Schwarzenegger and like, what was it, Jingle All the Way?
Yeah,
like fighting people off.
It's going to be absolutely crazy to try getting some of it. So I mean, I'll just kind of wait because I don't really need to buy that.
Which fun side story? The Honest Trailer folks just did a video for that movie, Arnold Schwarzenegger, Jingle All the Way. It is hilarious.
Yeah.
That movie also doesn't hold up well to modern times.
No, it definitely doesn't.
No.
So, and going into the comic book week, I'll just kind of give this as a plug.
Okay.
Friday in the USA is Black Friday. It's one of the biggest shopping days of the year.
Yes.
I'm just going to say, for my recommendations, go to your local comic book shops and go pick something up.
Mm-hmm.
That will be the biggest thing. Whether you go to locally, Sound Go Round, Fat Cats, you know, wherever locally in the 607. If you go to like Dragon Master Games and Jupiter Games for your RPG stuff, go out and support some local businesses and go pick up some issues. That would be the absolute best thing to do, because there's a lot of great books coming out. I know we're going to post Justin's weekly video up on our Facebook page. You can find the link to that on OchoDuroParlayHour.com. I mean, comic-wise, the only thing really kind of jumping at me this week is it's going to be a big X-Men week.
Yeah.
X-Force 2, New Mutants 2, and Fallen Angels 2 all come out. So definitely go check that out. I know Brian from Cheers to Comics, he's got another podcast coming out giving the breakdown of the pull list, so definitely check him out. He's got some big interview coming out too. I am super excited for that, so kudos to you, my friend. And really going into the holiday weekend, we here at the ODPH just want to say happy Thanksgiving to everybody that has been a listener and supporter of the show. Shout out to NXTWAVE, shout out to Pod Nation, shout out to League of Indie Pods, shout out to Odd Pod Squad, shout out to 607 Podcasts, One Movie Punch, like everybody that's giving us a lot of support. We are very thankful for the support that you guys have given us and continue to make 2019 and going into 2020 an amazing year for the Ocho Duro Parlay Hour. So, Pat, I made a mistake on the last episode.
Oh, yeah?
And I'm going to own up to it.
Okay.
Because I was so amped up about the Shout at the Robots show that they are doing Thanksgiving Eve at Lost Dog Cafe that if you can get down there, and by the time you hear this episode, I just mentioned that they did the music on last episode, and it was Fair City Fire. But either way, you can't go wrong with the music you hear on the show. because this episode is going to have Shout at the Robots music on it. I know a couple promos have Fair City Fire music on it. Where do you find out about that? OchoDuroParlayHour.com/music. You can find out about them, Walking Distance, Floodlands, Honker, all the great music you hear on the show. You can also hear about Hashtag 607 Podcast. You can hear about 3 Fat Nerds, Horror Zone 607, 8122 Productions. Pat, do you know they're on Patreon?
I do.
Do you know that they came out with their first episode, Love is Scary, with Spooky Mike and Dr. Derek?
Oh, God.
That is behind a paywall for a reason, folks.
Yeah?
That is worth your money every time because I cannot wait to hear that episode.
Oh, Lord have mercy.
Yes, which is going to be absolutely wild content that if you want to say, okay, why should I sign up for Patreon with 8122? That is the reason you do. Because that episode is absolutely bananas.
I haven't heard it, but I know the concept. I'm just going to give you a fair warning. If you sign up, listen with headphones on.
Yes, it is definitely NSFW.
Don't have like your Bluetooth speaker hooked up. You know, you're sitting at home, you know, doing some work or something. Like, you know, kids might be in the other room or family members might be in the other room. No, like headphones. Very not safe for work.
Yeah, very not safe for work, but very entertaining nevertheless. So you want to check that out. And you also want to check out Parlay Points, the complimentary blog section to the ODPH. Coach Duffy is supposed to do his fantasy football predictions. We're still waiting on that. We're also waiting on a new comics blog from Bright Guy Signal. And who knows, I might actually drop something this weekend. I don't know. I got to kind of see how the schedule is. Because right now, for where Pat and I work, is a very, very busy time of year.
That's an understatement.
Yes, so we almost didn't get a chance to do the second episode this week. So we are going to see. Maybe I can squeak something out this weekend. I don't know. We're going to have to see. But happy Thanksgiving, nevertheless, from the ODPH, because that's all we got for this week. So for Padawan J,
thank you, and I have spoken.
I'm your host, Ken M. Thank you, as always, for listening to the Ocho Duro Parlay Hour. We'll see you next time.